It's been a turbulent day for artificial intelligence company OpenAI. CEO and co-founder Sam Altman has been ousted by the company's board.
The tech world has been thrown into a particular state of chaos and shock following the sudden job change imposed on the former ChatGPT CEO Sam Altman.
November 17th, 2023. The most powerful company in the new age of AI commits corporate seppuku. With a single blog post, the board of OpenAI fired its visionary CEO Sam Altman.
Yeah, that's right. The OpenAI board fired Altman Friday, and he's now been hired by Microsoft.
It was a move meant to be a swift, decisive execution to protect the company's mission, but they made one critical miscalculation. They forgot who held the real power. Today on Corporate Forensics, we are conducting an autopsy of a failed coup. We'll analyze the blog posts, the leaked memos, and the public statements that became the weapons in a 5-day war for the soul of Silicon Valley's new king. This is the story of how a revolution was born, not in the streets, but on Slack channels and social media.
All right, so every investigation has a starting point, right? A piece of evidence that kicks the whole thing off. For us, it's a blog post that dropped on a Friday afternoon. And let me tell you, this was not your average press release. This was the first shot fired in a war. Let's dig in. And that brings us to Act 1, what I'm calling the board's gambit. Now, you have to understand, from their perspective, this wasn't some impulsive, emotional decision. Oh no, this was a calculated move. They saw themselves as the last line of defense for, well, for all of humanity. And they thought they were about to deliver a checkmate to their own CEO. So let's examine the weapon they used. The words themselves. The language is just, wow. It's cold. It's absolute. The board no longer has confidence. I mean, there's no wiggle room there, is there? This is the corporate version of a public execution. It was designed to be fast, brutal, and totally final. Okay, so what was their official story? What was the justification? Well, it really all boils down to one thing: trust, or, a complete lack of it. The key phrase they used was that he was not consistently candid in his communications. Think about what that means. For this board, this wasn't about a personality clash or hitting profit targets. It was about their very ability to do their job, to govern, which they felt was being completely undermined. And to really get inside their heads, you gotta understand how OpenAI is even built. This is not your typical Silicon Valley startup. Not at all. At its heart is a nonprofit. It's like a legal fortress they built specifically to protect its mission, making sure AGI, artificial general intelligence, benefits all of humanity. So their legal duty, their fiduciary responsibility, it wasn't to the CEO, it wasn't to the investors like Microsoft, it was to that mission. So in their minds, they weren't just firing some guy, they were literally saving the world. So that's the end of Act 1. The board lays down its cards, and they think they have a royal flush. They've got the legal authority, they've got the company charter, and they believe they have the moral high ground of the mission on their side. As far as they're concerned, game over. They won. But yeah, the game was far from over. Welcome to Act 2, the digital counteroffensive. What happens next is nothing short of a corporate blitzkrieg. It's fueled by loyalty, by technology, and, crucially, by a very, very powerful friend. The board's perfect, neat little plan was about to crash headfirst into reality. And here's the first piece of counter-evidence that things are going sideways for the board. Just look at that number. Roughly 97%. We're talking about almost 750 out of 770 employees who all signed an open letter. You have to remember, in Silicon Valley, top-tier talent isn't just a resource, it's the ultimate leverage. And with one single document, pretty much the entire company pointed that weapon right at the board's head. And let's be crystal clear about this. This letter wasn't some polite request for them to reconsider. No. This was a corporate ultimatum, a hostage note. The message was basically, hey board, you can keep the office, you can keep the logo, you can keep the mission statement. We, the people who actually build this stuff, we're out of here and we're going with Sam. And just like that, in a flash, the entire balance of power in this fight just completely flipped. And then came the smoking gun. I mean, the piece of evidence that changes everything. A tweet from Ilya Sutskever, who isn't just the company's chief scientist, he was a board member who voted to fire Sam. This right here was the crack in the dam. When one of the key players in the coup publicly backtracks like this, well, the whole thing starts to collapse from the inside. The board's unified front was just gone, shattered. And if that was the crack, This next move was the checkmate, because while the board was standing on their legal high ground, their biggest partner, Microsoft, just swooped in and made a kingmaker's move. Satya Nadella basically rolled out a golden parachute for everyone. He publicly announced, "Hey Sam, Greg, and anyone else who wants to leave, come work for me. I'll hire all of you." He completely took all the risk out of the rebellion for the employees. All of a sudden, threatening to resign wasn't a threat anymore. It was a guaranteed, incredibly well-funded career move. The board wasn't just outmaneuvered at this point. They were completely and totally outplayed. Which brings us, of course, to our final act, the new regime. This is the part of the story where we see the board's unconditional surrender and the new power structure that was forged in the fire of this absolutely insane 5-day crisis. I mean, the speed of this collapse was just breathtaking. Let's just quickly run through the timeline again. Friday the 17th, Sam Altman gets fired. By Sunday, less than 48 hours later, the employee rebellion is at full throttle. Monday, the board member, Ilya, tweets his regret. Tuesday, they've already reached an agreement in principle for Sam to come back. And by Wednesday, November 22nd, literally 5 days after this whole thing started, he's officially back as CEO. It is an absolutely stunning example of how fast power and authority can just evaporate in this day and age. You know, that victory photo they posted really says it all, doesn't it? The company's own blog post, just a few days after the first one, confirmed the surrender. Sam Altman was coming back as CEO. Now, the official language was all rainbows and unicorns, unity and moving forward, but the subtext, it couldn't have been clearer. The counteroffensive had worked. It was a complete and total victory. And this little table right here really lays out the sheer scale of that victory. Just look at the before and after. The old board's job was to protect the mission. The new board, stabilize and govern. Totally different vibe. The old board was mostly nonprofit folks. The new one is much more traditional and aligned with the CEO. Altman himself goes from terminated to reinstated CEO. And check out Microsoft's new position. They're not just a partner anymore, they now have a non-voting seat at the table as a board observer. The power structure wasn't just restored to what it was before, it was completely torn down and rebuilt to favor the winners. So after looking at all the evidence, what's our final forensic finding? It's actually pretty simple. A mission statement is powerless against real leverage. A noble mission, even one that's written into the company's legal charter, is just no match for the combined real-world forces of three things: indispensable talent, massive amounts of capital, and a leader people will follow into a fire. The board's theoretical power just shattered the second it made contact with reality. The OpenAI board didn't fall because they were wrong, but because their mission was irrelevant in the face of overwhelming leverage. The ultimate forensic finding is this: the true board of directors at a company like OpenAI isn't the one listed on paper. It's the coalition of indispensable employees, the deep-pocketed investors, and the irreplaceable leader. The original board had the legal authority, but Sam Altman, backed by his army of engineers and the limitless resources of Microsoft, had the power. This crisis provides a blueprint for understanding where authority truly lies in the modern tech company. If this analysis gave you a new framework for thinking about corporate power, hit the like button and subscribe for more forensic deep dives. Now, I want to hear from you. Was the board's initial action brave or was it reckless? Let me know in the comments below.